And good evening. I'll go ahead and call the Monday, February 17th, 2025 meeting of the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners to order. I'd like to welcome everyone here. I hope everyone had a great weekend. I'll go ahead at this time and ask the Vice Chairwoman to provide the invocation, and then we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance.
For those that can, please stand. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this evening. We thank you for the opportunity to serve for our community. We ask that everything be done in decency and order, and that we make wise decisions that will help for the betterment for our entire community. We also ask for thoughts and prayers of the recent throughout the nation plane crashes, that you will keep those families lifted and support. We also ask for prayer for all those and thank those that have veterans and those that serve for our country to be free. And again, we just thank you for this opportunity to serve our community. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now I'd like to recognize the Fayetteville Cumberland Youth Council that's here and ask Walter Sanders to come forward. You want to state your name, your school, I believe you're a sophomore, and share some information about the Youth Council.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Walter Sanders. I currently go to Cumberland International Early College. I'm a junior, not a sophomore. That's okay. I read that on the thing, but it's okay. And currently this year, I'm the vice chair of the Fayetteville Cumberland Youth Council. And I just want to say a few things. This year, we are very grateful that you guys have been supporting us in our endeavors. The one big thing that we've done every year is Jingle Tree. This year, we were able to give Christmas gifts to about 10 teenagers, which was very great, and it was kind of the same thing as last year, and we're glad we were able to do that because it really helped a lot of people. We also gave 18 gifts to 18 small presents to children, thanks to the Greater Life at Fayetteville after school program. We were glad to see the joy that they had in their faces. I was there. We presented them the gifts. It was really cool. We also have attended a few summits this year. We went to one in Rocky Mount area. It's called, the Mini Grant Conference. Basically, we learned how to write grants, how to submit grants, and we reviewed about, almost 100 grants. It was a long process, but it was really fun. And looking ahead this February, we are looking forward to continuing doing what we do every year. This month is Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month, so we're having a seminar, I think in early March, late February, about that, hosted by one of our members there. And we just wanted to take the time to spread this awareness to all the teens and adults in Fayetteville. And thank you guys again for helping us and supporting us in our endeavors. And that'll be all for me today. Thank you.
Thank you. Don't go anywhere yet, Walter. We've got a certificate for you. I'm going to ask Commissioner Patel to come down to the podium and present you that certificate.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you need a picture?
Yeah.
He's been here before.
He's been conditioned.
I'll tell you. John Moore.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Walter. We'll go ahead and move to the public comment period. County Manager Greer, if you'll read the public comment policy.
Yes, the public comment policy is as follows. The public comment period shall last no longer than 15 minutes. Time may be extended at the discretion of the board. Each speaker will be allowed to have a maximum of 3 minutes to make remarks until the 15-minute time limit is attained. No time may be yielded by a speaker to another speaker. Speakers will be acknowledged by the board in the order in which their names appear upon the sign-up sheet. Speakers will address the board from the lectern and begin their remarks by stating their name and address. Public comment is not intended to require the board to answer any impromptu questions. Speakers will not discuss the matters regarding the candidacy of persons seeking public office. Speakers will be courteous in their language and presentation. Personal attacks will not be tolerated. Written comments and/or supporting documents may be left with the clerk to the board. Tonight, we have only one speaker.
We'll go ahead and open the public comment period, and I'll ask the clerk for the individuals for public comment.
John Paul Keller.
Good evening, Mr. Keller.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. How you doing, sir? I'd first like to thank our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for allowing us to meet tonight in the spirit of community. I wanted to introduce myself, my wife, talk about bees, and talk about our business. My name is John Paul Keller. I was born in Cincinnati, Ohio. I had the pleasure of serving the United States Army for over 20 years, most of which I had the pleasure of calling Fayetteville, North Carolina, my home. This lovely woman in the back corner is my wife, Katie Keller. She has over 20 years of military service in the United States Navy. We won't hold that against her. She's currently the lead instructor for the Cape Fear Navy JRTC program. When I retired from the Army in 2023, I found myself in some pretty unique positions with some new interests. I picked up a lot of them: archery, quilting. I attended NC State Farm School. I'm currently at Fayetteville Tech in the machining and gunsmithing program and a member of the National Honor Society. I'm currently the vice president of the Cumberland County Beekeepers Association. In comes my next passion, the bees. Bees have been incredibly therapeutic for me. As a disabled veteran, they've helped me work through issue after issue after issue. However, in my first year of beekeeping, which was 2024, I lost 6 hives. It was truly devastating. 1 in 4 bites that you took tonight or today was pollinated by a honeybee. That number is rapidly dwindling. I don't even want to think what that number would be by the time our great-great-grandkids walk this earth. In comes Buzz and Blends, our veteran-owned, woman-owned, minority-owned, family-owned business aimed to bring awareness to the honeybee while meeting the nutritional needs of our community. Recently, we hit some snags. I had a woman who was employed by the Zoning Commission in Cumberland County tell me to my face, "No one cares about your veteran-owned business." I simply don't agree. During my time as a voting precinct official, I got to see some incredible things in this community. Things like Mr. Tyson's camp interacting with Mr. Patel in the Stedman voting site. Incredible things. That's why I'm here today, to ask you, will you help us with our business? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Keller, and thank you for your service and that of your wives.
Thank you for your support, sir.
Hearing no other speakers, Madam Clerk, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a blessed evening.
We'll go ahead and move to item 1, approval of the agenda. County Manager Greer, any changes to the agenda?
No, Chairman Devier, there are no changes to the agenda.
Hearing no changes, I'll ask for a motion. Vice Chair Jones,
Motion to approve the agenda?
is there a second? Second. Motion to approve the agenda has been properly seconded. All in favor, raise your right hand. It's unanimous. We'll go ahead and move to item 2, consent agenda. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
Remove item E.
Commissioner Adams, you're recognized you want to remove item E, policy directing the flow of work through the committee of the Board of Commissioners. We'll move that to item 4D. Any other commissioners, any other changes to the consent agenda? Items to remove? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Vice Chairwoman Jones,
Motion to approve the agenda?
the consent agenda,
Consent agenda.
sorry. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion on the floor to approve the consent agenda, taking item E and adding it to item 4D. It's been properly seconded. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Unanimous.
We'll go ahead and move to item 3, public hearings. County Manager Greer, if you'll explain the Board of Commissioners procedures for public hearings.
Public hearing policies, arguments by the proponents and opponents should be limited to a maximum of 10 minutes per each side. If there's no group representative, each speaker shall be allotted a maximum of 3 minutes until the 10-minute time period is attained. Rebuttals will only be permitted at the discretion of the chairman with a maximum of 1 3-minute presentation by each side. And that is the public hearing procedures.
Thank you, County Manager. We'll go ahead and move to item 3A, case ZON 240039. County Manager Greer, if you'll introduce the item and
Yes, this is a rezoning case. Rawls Howard, Director of Planning and Inspections, will present this item and answer any questions that you may have.
Good evening, Commissioners.
good evening.
So the one and only item that I have for you this evening is stated by the County Manager's case ZON 24-0039. You can see by the highlighted map here that this case is located generally in the Grace Creek area, south of I-95 and west of NC 87, as you can see with the star on the map. The applicant owner is the Sid's Mills Properties Incorporated. The request is to go from A1 agricultural to R15 residential. The intent is to establish or entitle a piece of property for a single-family development for a little over 20 acres. You can see by the highlighted map, this area that is cross-hatched in red, you can see is the case that's being heard for this evening. This is, it sits just off of, I guess it's Fennel Road, which comes up here to Sand Hill Road, for those of you that might be familiar with the geography of the area. This is a little bit better picture. You can see the zoning with it colorized. The area in general is a hodgepodge of all sorts of types of residential type uses. You can see RR, R15, there's even some R6, R20, so the request to go to R15 is not really out of character for what's out in that general vicinity. You can see this is a zoomed in area. The tract itself is largely undeveloped. It's just wooded, but you can see that it sits somewhat in the middle of a lot of platted single-family developments. The subject property, as I said before, is largely surrounded by single-family and some manufactured homes, as you can see here with the all of the coloration in yellow. So the property also sits with no hydric soil, so the soils are good. There's also the presence of water and sewer infrastructure with PWC just a little over 1,000 feet away. You can see here with these blue and brown lines. It is indicated by the applicant that there's an intent, at least as it was stated on the application itself and what was mentioned to staff, is that there is an intent to extend those lines to the property to serve the future development. When we looked at the future land use plan of what our policies call for this area, it is called out to be low-density residential in the south central area land use plan. So this request to R15 is deemed to be consistent with the adopted land use plan. This is the subject property standing on Fennel Road looking across the street. You can see, as I said before, it's largely wooded. This is looking up the road to the northeast. You can see the property immediately on the left-hand side. You can also see the posted Z sign, which is required by state statute for posted notification. This is looking just across the street in the southeast view. You can see it's just, as I said, it's just a largely a single-family type area. And this is the southwest view with the property immediately on the right-hand side of the road. So staff did recommend approval of the request. When this went to the January Planning Board meeting, they also supported staff's recommendation by a 7-0 vote. I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Commissioner Faircloth, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Did they ever determine the school district?
We couldn't get responses back in time to be able to get the reports out, and we didn't hear from the school district about this case. So, no, sir. Short answer to your question.
That's good enough. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else, Commissioner Faircloth? Commissioner Tyson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Howard, for those that are unfamiliar, walk us through the process that once a request comes in, kind of how it moves through, just for the benefit of the public so that they can understand how it gets to this board and the process that this item's already gone through.
Yes, sir. In general, the application for a rezoning of property is just that. It's just simply an application. You fill out, you pay the fee. Staff gets the application, then we start routing that through a whole number of different departments, including the school district. The fire marshal's office, we route it through like environmental health, DEQ, DOT, so we route everything through. We get comments back, and then essentially what we do is we're a aggregator of all that information, which then goes into your staff report. Of course, we also look at the board's adopted policies via the plan that was adopted for this particular area. That drives a lot of what staff's recommendation would be for the case. But essentially, we get all that, we put a staff report, we set this case on the agenda for the planning board. Generally, that's about a 30 to 45-day process. It goes to the planning board, then we get out of that. Then by state statute, we have to advertise as a public hearing for this body. And so then we put the ad in the paper, we post the site, we send out letters to a certain group of people within a specified distance around the property. And then we call for the public hearing, we put the ad in the paper and so forth, and then we're here this evening for you. I hope that was short enough for you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, sir.
Anything else, Commissioner Tyson?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Howard.
Yes, sir.
We'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. Madam Clerk, are there any speakers?
There are no speakers.
All right, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, and I'll ask commissioners if there's any other additional questions. If not, I'll entertain a motion. Commissioner Tyson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to approve the rezoning request from A1 Agricultural District to R15 Residential District. The board finds that the request is consistent with the South Central Area Land Use Plan, which calls for low-density residential at this location. The board also finds that the request is reasonable and in the public interest as it is compatible to and in harmony with the surrounding land use activities and zoning.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is on the floor and is properly seconded. Is there any other discussion on this motion? If not, I'll ask for your vote. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Unanimous.
Thank you very
Mr.
much.
Howard.
Yes.
We'll go ahead and move to item 4, items of business. Item A, request to restore nonprofit assistance program funding to the original budget and associated budget ordinance amendment B250157. County Manager Greer.
Yes, excuse me. Ty Vaught, Chief Judge Staff, will present this item about reopening the nonprofit assistance program, and answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. The ARC Committee met on Monday, February 10th, to review and approve guidelines for a community impact grant program aimed at supporting local nonprofits. The program is designed to enhance community services by providing much-needed funding to organizations. During the meeting, the committee voted to move forward with a request to increase funding for the program, restoring it to its original approved allocation for nonprofit assistance. The initial allocation was $3.5 million, but after accounting for program expenditures and obligations, the remaining unallocated general fund capacity is $1,081,737. The committee is requesting that this unallocated amount be transferred to support this initiative. The application period would begin today and remain open through close of business March 17th. Staff would review applications and bring funding recommendations to the committee for consideration. And then following committee review, final recommendations would be brought to before the full board for approval. Approved contracts will be executed with an effective date of July 1st, 2025, coinciding with the beginning of the 2026 fiscal year. We will also hold a virtual information session this Thursday, February 20th at 6 p.m. for those interested in the program and that may have questions and would like to have those questions answered. The session will be recorded and uploaded to our county YouTube channel as well for those who may be interested but unable to attend the information session. I also want to point out that with the allocation of the 1.081, there is also a remaining allocation of $390,000, and so actually the program cap would actually be $1,472,600. The committee is requesting your consideration and approval of the funding transfer in this amount to fund the Community Impact Grant Program and the associated budget ordinance amendment B250157. Now answer any questions that you may have.
Commissioner Adams, you're recognized.
I just have just a comment. With bad weather coming in on Wednesday, is it possible for us to maybe move this to Monday when it opens up and have that? You talking about having this on Thursday. If power goes out, some people may not be able to get to that session. And so that we can delay it maybe a week and do it that Wednesday, such that you don't get into this weather. That would be the only, I don't have any other problem with anything else. I'm just looking at the weather. and they're talking about bad weather and possibly some loss of power.
Yes, sir.
So Commissioner Adams, I understand you'd like to see the application period begin on February 24th.
I guess
A week from the 17th.
Yeah, I just picked the date.
Okay.
Whatever date is convenient, but I just didn't want to do it this week, and I thought a Monday would be good, and then he can have the hearing 3 days, whatever, like he was
Sure.
doing it this time, because he was starting the day and having the hearing on, Thursday? So if you do
Right.
it on the 24th, you can have it on that Wednesday.
Okay, so with that,
Do you have a question on that piece?
I
Mr.
do.
Vaught? Go ahead.
so are you stating that the 30-day period would start on the 24th through the 24th?
Commissioner Adams, you recognize.
Whatever the 30-day period, yeah, whenever
Okay.
you count it, I just want to get past the weather
Okay.
and make sure everybody has the opportunity to be heard.
We'll work out the date, Mr. Vaught. I understand the consideration for the weather, which is a good consideration. Commissioner Tyson, you recognize?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For those that are unfamiliar, can you just kind of go over and explain, this is an existing program we've administered before, and just kind of go over kind of the history of this so everybody kind of has an understanding?
Sure. So going back to this program actually began with the American Rescue Plan back in 2021. And so at that time, in late 2021, the board adopted a multi-year budget ordinance amendment and allocated $3.5 million to this program. It was in February of 2022 that we actually did an RFP for nonprofits to apply, submit proposals to, at which we got some good proposals, but the board at that time decided that to get the most bang for buck, that we would switch from a RFP process to an application process. And that's where that $50,000 cap came from, for up to $50,000 for the program. Since then, we've done 3 iterations of this program. This would be the 4th at this point. And from the beginning, that 3.5, we've still been kind of operating at that 3.5 pot. One change, though, major change, is throughout the life of the program, it's really been focused on COVID-19 and recovery from COVID-19, and we're kind of beyond the recovery for COVID-19, and so that's why we've rebranded this as the Community Impact Grant, to focus on the operations for the nonprofits that are needed beyond what they suffered in the COVID era, basically.
Commissioner Tyson, anything else?
Can I have one follow-up to that?
Go ahead, Commissioner Tyson.
And just kind of for the benefit, again, nonprofits that would qualify, just can you kind of go through that so we know what kind of nonprofits would look to take advantage of this program?
Sure. So first and foremost, the nonprofits would need to operate in Cumberland County, and so have a presence here, an office here. And the programs that they offer would need to be programs that focus on affected populations, like low to moderate income individuals, social determinants of health, youth activities, at-risk youth, those programs that are covered, what we already kind of do as a county, basically, the things that we're able to do as a county through statute, those same programs. In the guidelines that the ARP committee adopted, there were 5 buckets that they determined, and so we will evaluate each application and see where they fall within that bucket, basically. Not that there's a particular cap for a particular category, but we will try to make sure that we are being cognizant that we're funding different types of programs and not just, all one type. We're making sure that we are providing some type of funding to several programs, whether that be, like I said, at youth risk, youth at risk. I always get that wrong. Health programs, domestic violence, sheltering, that type of thing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Vice Chairman Jones?
That was pretty much, I was going to ask you to just, pretty much the same questions. I don't want you to have to be redundant. I was just going to ask you to break down the 5 categories that individuals, if they're out here listening or have a nonprofit, what those 5 categories for the grants would be.
And I should have had them in front of me, but it is arts and culture and community development. It's health programs. It is faith-based programs, but of course, when we say faith-based, we're talking about programs that faith-based organizations put on, like feeding programs, after-school programs, those types of things. I'm missing another one, and also Youth at Risk. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And so those are your programs. Thank you.
You're welcome. And just one more comment, if you could just elaborate a little bit, since this is the fourth round, but we've changed some things, which is why we're calling it a new program. If you could also emphasize that the element now in reference to, say, for instance, the fire department and certain individuals in that capacity would be able to apply, correct? Can you focus a little bit on that for those that are listening and those that are here today, please?
Right, so that is actually a thank you for bringing the question up. And so when we did this program previously through the American Rescue Plan, we had some limitations on who we were able to fund, and so that was for 501c3 and 501c19 organizations. And so many of our, for example, fire departments are 501c4s, and they would have been precluded from being in the program. That was actually one of the reasons why this board decided to change it from an American Rescue Plan program to a program funded through our general fund to allow for more capacity for those individuals who didn't fall within those two categories. So for your example, volunteer fire departments can participate, and they have participated in the past.
And then just one more comment. I just wanted to say, as the chair of this particular committee, I'm very thankful and grateful for the work that the staff yourself has done, and that you did take in those recommendations and considerations that definitely I wanted that part to be in there. And also I wanted to thank the board for continuously, although it's been changes with the different, we understand the importance of nonprofits. So just wanted to commend you all, the staff and the board, for the support, and it's a pleasure to be the chair of this
Thank you.
particular committee.
Commissioners, any other comments or questions? If not, I will entertain a motion. Vice Chairwoman Jones?
Yes, I motion approval of the ARP Committee's funding recommendation to establish the Community Impact Grant Program and the Associate Budget Ordinance Amendment in B25015, again, that's B25015, in the amount of $1.4 million.
I'll second that.
Got a motion on the floor and it's been properly seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll ask for your vote. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vaught. Thank you, Board. We'll go ahead and move to item B, consideration of resolution in support of state legislative agenda items.
Yes,
County Manager Greer?
Yes, back on February 10th, we met with the local state delegation and went through our requested priorities. Faith Phillips, Assistant County Manager and Library Director, will present this item and answer any questions you may have.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
Good evening.
While we are getting our PowerPoint up and ready. Thank you, Danny. So, as County Manager Greer said, this evening for your consideration is a resolution adopting the state legislative agenda items for the 2025-2026 biennium of the NC General Assembly. Each request in the resolution is tied to one of the strategic priority areas determined during the January 30th and 31st strategic planning retreat. And just as a reminder, those areas are fostering economic prosperity, encouraging quality, smart development, ensuring a safe community, enhancing health and wellness, increasing culture and recreation opportunities, championing responsive, transparent government, and supporting a high-performing education system. Based on these strategic priority areas, feedback from stakeholder meetings, department head meetings, the following legislative items structured around funding and policy requests specific to Cumberland County were presented to the state legislative delegation at the special meeting on February 10th, 2025. The funding requests as presented were $5 million for Grays Creek District public water infrastructure, $50 million for public water and sewer county-wide infrastructure, $65 million for a new state-of-the-art E.E. Smith School, $2 million towards a regional aquatic center, $2 million for a mobile incident command unit for emergency services, $500,000 for digital dispatch equipment for the Cumberland County Fire Chiefs Association, $4 million for youth mental health and substance use treatment services. The policy objectives presented were Supporting the Cumberland County Board of Education's agenda item to adjust the formula for supplemental state funds for teacher compensation. Support and advocacy for the completion of rail routes from Fayetteville to Raleigh and Fayetteville to Wilmington. Support and advocacy for the route of I-685 through Fayetteville and Cumberland County versus through Dunn. For volunteer department services contracts to modify the annexation laws to require any annexation to include a 5-year good faith first or full responder contract. To support legislation, funding, and associated actions related to gun violence prevention and awareness. And then to decrease wait times for the NC Innovations Waiver Program, medical home, and community-based services for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So this resolution is presented for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips. A couple things, Board. Since the meeting with the delegation, as I had discussed with the delegation, asking for their appetite, their level of appetite, one of the things they asked us to do is prioritize the request. Following the meeting with the delegation, I had a follow-on conversation with the delegation chair, and I want to, one, make a recommendation. I'm going to pass it down to you. It's just a slight modification to the resolution where we prioritize them. So we'll put countywide water, the water infrastructure up front. Also, I've got a change to the high-performing education system. So I would recommend that we adjust to $15 million of direct state appropriations for infrastructure needs, as we heard those infrastructure needs, as well as an additional $15 million for the new state-of-the-art school, as previously identified, so we would reduce that amount to $30 million. All the other items, and then we would move the enhancing health and wellness. There was an appetite to, as we saw during the meeting, on the mental health piece, especially the youth mental health. And then the aquatic center would be the next. And then the mobile incident command unit, and then the $500,000 for the digital dispatch. Just putting them in that order and adjusting the education down to 30, 15 and 15 million would be my request to the board to modify this resolution as we move forward. So again, not adding to, just reducing it based on my follow-on conversation with the delegation chair. That puts our total ask at about 93.5 million, which is the dollar amount that I discussed with the delegation chair. I just wanted to preface that before we had any other questions on the resolution from the board. Commissioners, I'll open it up for questions or comments. Any comments? Hearing,
Well,
Commissioner Adams?
Yes,
Sorry.
I just have one comment, and I think this is very good, Mr. Chairman. I do like that. And I think, though, that when we get down here to the E. Smith piece, where it says serving our historically significant and growing military connected community, is also to, we should put in there serving that historic community that surrounds the minority students in Cumberland County. Or at least something that says,
Commissioner-
not just the military piece, but something for Cumberland County students also.
Commissioner Adams, we will make that note in the final updates and add that in. I actually believe it may have been in there, and I may have cut it off in the last draft.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Tyson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to thank the county manager and the staff for getting the comments back to us from the school board after our agenda meeting last Thursday. That was very helpful information. And just, you know, as you and I have toured the multiple departments across the county, we realize that there's a lot of need and a lot of areas where our county needs help. So I just wanted to commend you on working hard to develop a comprehensive legislative agenda that addresses a lot of those needs and gets a lot of those needs down the road. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other comments, Commissioners? Vice Chairwoman Jones?
Just wanted to tell the board and the staff, I do appreciate that we're definitely making this a known mention as far as mental health, as we know from the Cumberland County public assessment that was given to our community. That's definitely a need, so I appreciate the fact that since we had to prioritize, that we did make sure that we included that. Just wanted to make that comment.
Any other comments, Commissioners? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion. Vice Chairwoman Jones?
Yes, motion to approve the resolution with the adjusted recommendations of the modifications.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
So we have a motion on the floor to approve the resolution in support of the state legislative agenda items with the modification to the priorities, the dollar amount for the education, and ensuring we add in the minority community participation on the E.E. Smith on the new school. That's been properly seconded. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, I'll ask for your vote. Raise your right hand in the affirmative.
Unanimous.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips, for all your work and that of the staffs. We'll go ahead and move to the next item of business. Item C, fiscal year 2024 response to address financial performance indicators of concern. County Manager Greer.
Yes, during the 2024 audit report, one of the financial indicators was we had to mitigate, which related to the Norcrest Water and Sewer District. And we have the response that we need to send to the state, how we plan to mitigate that issue and resolve it for this fiscal year. And I'll turn it over to Robin Coontz, Finance Director, CFO, to answer any questions that you may have.
Good evening.
Good evening, Commissioners. So the original audit results were reported to you by Sherry Beckert on January 9th. So we have 60 days from that original presentation to submit a corrective action plan to the LGC. So that's what you'll find in your attachments. Just to give you a quick background, to remind you what happened, we have the water sewer districts, their enterprise funds. They should operate in a capacity where they're covering their operating expenditures. And so when you combine the 5 water sewer districts together, there was overall operating loss of just over $85,000. So anytime that goes below zero, that triggers the performance indicator. So in talking with Amanda Lee, who was here, so if we have any real specific questions about water sewer, which your accountant's probably not going to be really good at answering, she can explain that to you. But the way I understand it, back in 23 in March, we started to see a difference between the ratio of the sewer billing to the water billing. So basically, PwC bills the county for the sewer billing, and then we bill our residential customers for the water billing. And that gap between those two numbers became much greater a little over a year ago. As an example, in fiscal year 24, PwC charged the county for 65 million gallons, and we charged our customers for just over 30 million. So, again, if there's questions about that, that's probably a good. Amanda, Bray, do y'all have any questions which you would like for us to answer at this point?
Commissioners, are there any questions? I don't think we have any questions at this time.
Okay. So based on this situation, we have put together a corrective action plan. The Norcrest Water District is the district that is driving this differential. The overall operating loss was just over $85,000, but that particular district was just over $416,000 for fiscal year 24. So Norcrest is working with PwC to try to improve the data collection for billing. We are installing weather monitoring devices and continuing what is referred to as I&I investigations. So from what I understand, the I&I, the way that works, you can have some variations like this for short periods of time because of weather patterns, but you shouldn't see it consistently like in an ongoing trend, which is what we're doing. So they're trying to dig into that and find out why that is happening every month. So we're working on those things. We are renegotiating a maintenance contract with PwC in the Norcrest District. so that we can cap those expenditures annually at $90,000. If you look at 2024, they were just over $197,000, so that's a pretty good savings that we can make there if we can make that happen. And then we're going to be bringing, as a result of that, certain services internally, like generator maintenance and monitoring. We're also recommending a 5% rate increase to residential customers for the upcoming fiscal year, which should generate an additional $40,000 in revenue. And then also there will be a rate study that's going to be completed in fiscal year +26 by the firm of Freeze and Nichols that will do an overall rate study to see if we're moving in the right direction with that. So the bottom line is it's not an overnight fix. I don't think we'll see any improvement in this fiscal year, but I think with the investigations and trying to get at the bottom of what the problem is, that we will in '26, and then also with the rate increases, but definitely to be resolved by '27.
Commissioner Adams, you're recognized.
I guess my question would be, so we were $85,000 in the red, I guess.
Yes, sir.
So are we moving that out of general fund to cover that as so that it's covered as we send our response, or what do we do, or is it just a whole? It's got to be something that covers that.
So there is a fund balance in the
Okay.
North, yes, so we're not having to move money at this point in time.
No, we don't have to move money at this time. We have a fund balance. This was just an annual issue.
This is just a snapshot of 1 year.
Snapshot at one time. And there's a way we can, at the end of the year, we can evaluate it and take care of it in a different manner, so we don't have that large deficit again.
Go ahead, Commissioner Adams.
Well, it's a deficit, so how do you, if you don't move any money, how do you cover the deficit? Or do we just leave it as a deficit? That's what, even if you take it out of the fund balance to move it, you got to cover the deficit. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Right.
Some money has to be moved.
No, we have enough fund balance to cover the deficit.
That's
for
what
the
I'm
1
saying.
year. Yeah, we do.
So we will move it out of the fund balance. I mean, it's going
Not
to be
general
covered.
fund, just Norcrest fund balance.
Right.
We have enough fund balance in Norcrest to cover it.
Right, and that's my only thing. It's going to be covered by moving some funds to be able to do that. That's, yeah, okay.
Anything else, Commissioner Adams?
No, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Tyson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So walk us through, if the board approves this course of action, and we move through with the plan, we send this to the LGC.
Correct.
Talk us through, does the LGC monitor our plan, or talk us through how that works?
Well, I'm going to take a stab at it because I've not been through this process yet, but we have to report. They've already emailed me, said they're waiting on our response. We obviously are within our window. We've got till the 9th of March to respond. I'm sure they will review what we submit, and if they disagree, I'm assuming that we would hear back from them that we need to change that, and I'm sure that would be monitored. These KPIs are entered every year at the end of the audit. You basically take the audit numbers and you plug them into this big template, and it generates these triggers if you have them, and we had one. So it would come around next year again, and it would catch their attention at that point in time.
Gotcha. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other comments or questions, Commissioners? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion. Commissioner Patel.
I'll make a motion that the board approves the corrective action plan to submit to the LGC by the deadline March 3rd of 2025.
Is there a second? There's been a motion on the floor and is properly seconded to submit the recommended action plan to the LGC for approval. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll ask for your vote. Raise your right hand in the affirmative.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and move to item 4D, policy directing flow of work through committees of the Board of Commissioners. County Manager Greer.
Yes, recently at the policy committee meeting, Chairman Tyson, Chairman of the committee, Commissioner Tyson, presented some policy directives regarding the flow of work through committees, and I would turn it over to him to explain and provide any additional information.
County Manager, can we, I would, before we turn it over to the Commissioner, Attorney Moorfield, is there anything you want to add to the work that you did on the document?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The policy, it's pretty direct in terms of a lot of detail on the workflow, starting off with the idea that, that all business that can be considered by the board shall originate in an appropriate committee, except for some things that are listed in B. There are 6 things listed in B that the committee, and I agree with that, and the manager agrees with that also, that the committee didn't think that they were necessary. The C points out that the ad hoc committees, which are the committees that are established from time to time for a single purpose, their actions or recommendations must also be reviewed by the appropriate standing committee, and there's some guidance in subsection H of this as to which committee would be appropriate. As far as moving the matters forward, the policy committee decided that if the committees vote, the standing committee's vote on a matter was unanimous, then the matter would be moved forward to the consent agenda, the next agenda session, or regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners as determined by the action of the committee. In other words, the committee itself could direct it to either the agenda session or a regular meeting. It would always be subject to the right of any commissioner to move that item from the consent agenda to be considered as an item of business for discussion at the meeting which it's moved. If the standing committee's vote is not unanimous, then the matter would be moved forward as an item of business to the next agenda of the agenda session or regular meeting as the committee determined. And if, in that case, the committee chairperson would present a summary of the agenda item, including the committee's recommendation, and have the county manager or any staff designated by the county manager to provide such further information as necessary. The idea of number F was to avoid the situation where there was not a quorum present or other factors affecting that, but it's the chairperson of the Board of Commissioners shall serve ex officio on all standing and ad hoc committees with the right to vote at any committee meeting which the chairperson attends and chooses to vote. The chairperson is not required to attend any committee, nor shall the chairperson's presence be necessary for determining a quorum, provided the chairperson of the board, in his or her sole discretion, may be included in the total to obtain a quorum if a quorum does not otherwise exist, and the chairperson of the Board of Commissioners intends to vote and has informed the chairperson of the committee of the intention to vote at the beginning of the meeting. G is all ad hoc committee meetings which have agenda matters requiring action by the committee shall be scheduled on the regular monthly meeting date for the ad hoc committee, and the ad hoc committee's recommendations shall be submitted to the county manager for to be placed on the agenda of the next meeting of the appropriate standing committee. Ad hoc committees committee meetings which do not have agenda items requiring action, for instance, receiving something for information purposes only, may be scheduled by the committee chairperson on days other than the ad hoc committee's regular monthly meeting date. The subsection H, and I won't go into all the details, is just some guidance on what type of matters should go to each one of the standing committees, and that does not include the Boards and Commissions Committee because it's mentioned separately, but the regular meeting dates for the committees is established as follows, and that's ad hoc committees meet on the same day as the first regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners each month, which will be the first Monday, of course, unless it's a holiday which falls on Monday, for which it'll be moved to the regular meeting of the board to be on Tuesday. All standing committees, except the Boards and Commissions Committee and the Audit Committee, will meet on the first Thursday of each month. And the Boards and Commissions Committee and Audit Committee will meet when called by their chairpersons.
Thank you, Attorney Moorfield. I'll open it up for questions of the commissioners.
And
Commissioner Adams, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I did talk to the chairman of the policy committee. We sat down and talked, and he knows what my concern was, which is under D, that whether out of the committee is only 3 people, it would be unanimous, that's fine, but they'd be moved to a consent agenda. And I do see that it could be removed by anybody. I just believe it ought to be either at the agenda session, well, and if you have this, if you come to the regular board meeting, I don't know if we keep those agenda settings, but that's there, or the regular meeting, that it become as a item of business as opposed to a consent agenda, so it could be put on the agenda for everybody to be able to see exactly what it is that's going to be voted on. And that was my concern, Mr. Chairman. And I think I talked to Commissioner Tyson about that, so that was my concern. Thank you.
Other commissioners' comments or questions? If not, I will entertain a motion. Commissioner Tyson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that the Board of Commissioners approve the policy directing the flow of work through committees of the Board of Commissioners adopted by the Policy Committee on their February 13th meeting, 2025.
Is there a second? Second. There's a motion on the floor to approve the policy directing the flow of work through the committees of the Board of Commissioners. It's been properly seconded. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for your vote. Raise your right hand in the affirmative.
Voting in favor, Commissioner Tyson, Vice Chairwoman Jones, Chairman Deviere, Commissioner Patel, Commissioner Fairclough. Voting in opposition, Commissioner Adams.
We'll go ahead and move to item 5, nominations. There are no nominations at this meeting. We'll move to item 6. There are no appointments at this meeting. We'll go ahead and move to item 7, closed session. Vice Chairwoman Jones.
Yes, I move to go into closed session for attorney-client matters pursuant to NCGS 143-318, period 11A3.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion to go into closed session is properly seconded. All in favor, say aye, or excuse me, raise your right hand.
Unanimous.
We'll go ahead and move into closed session. Vice Chairman Jones, you're recognized.
Yes, motion to come out of closed session for attorney-client matters pertaining to NCGS 143-318.11A3.
Is there a second? There's a motion on the floor to come out of closed session and properly second. All in favor, say aye. Or excuse me, raise your right hand.
Unanimous.
And seeing no other business, I will ask for a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? All in favor, raise your right hand. And we're adjourned.